When the biggest action star of the 1980s suddenly vanishes from every screen, every magazine, every spotlight that once followed his every move, people notice. And when that star is Mr. T, the man with the mohawk, the gold chains, the voice that shook arenas, the silence becomes deafening. One day he's everywhere, the next he's gone. No explanations, no farewell tours, just emptiness where a legend used to stand. The rumors started immediately. Some said Hollywood chewed him up and spit him out. Others whispered about scandals, about bridges burned, about a star who couldn't handle the spotlight anymore. But the real story? It's darker, more shocking, and more human than anyone imagined. The truth is, Mr. T didn't just walk away from fame. Something forced him out, something that nearly destroyed him completely. And when you hear what really happened, you'll never look at his disappearance the same way again. To understand how far Mr. T fell, you need to see how high he climbed. And that climb started in the absolute bottom of Chicago's South Side, in a cramped apartment where 12 children fought for space and a single mother fought to keep them fed. Lawrence Theriault was born into poverty so deep that escape seemed impossible. His father, a minister who should have been the family's rock, walked out when Lawrence was just 5 years old. Gone. Just like that. Leaving his mother to raise an army of children through backbreaking manual labor that destroyed her body inch by inch. The neighborhood was ruthless. Racial hatred wasn't subtle. It was in your face, unavoidable, crushing. Lawrence watched black men who'd risked everything on battlefields overseas come home to be called boy by people who'd never faced a fraction of their courage. That word, dripping with disrespect, burned into his mind. He made a decision that would define his entire existence. When he turned 18, the moment he gained the legal right to vote and be held accountable as an adult, he changed his name. Not to something flashy or Hollywood-ready. He chose Mr. T simple, direct, and absolutely brilliant. Because when someone called him Mr. T, they had to say Mr. They had to acknowledge him as a man worthy of respect every single time. High school showed glimpses of what he could become. Wrestling championships, football dominance, martial arts mastery. His body became a weapon, his determination unbreakable. A scholarship opened doors to college, but his rebellious nature slammed them shut just as fast. Expelled for disciplinary issues in his freshman year, most people would have crumbled. Lawrence didn't even blink. He joined the army in 1975, became a military policeman, learned discipline that would later save his life. When he tried out for the Green Bay Packers, chasing that NFL dream, a knee injury crushed it before it even started. So he ended up where many broken dreams land, working as a bouncer in Chicago's roughest clubs. But this wasn't just a job. This was where Mr. T was truly born. Standing 5'10" with military training and a rage that had been building since childhood, he became legendary. Over 200 fights, not a single loss. Troublemakers took one look at him and reconsidered their entire evening. And those gold chains everyone remembers? They started here, collected from the club floor after brawls, jewelry dropped or left behind. He wore them so customers could reclaim their property, but also because they made him look dangerous, untouchable, like some kind of warrior from another time. He studied Mandinka warriors from West Africa, crafted that iconic mohawk to honor their spirit. Every piece of his image had meaning, had power. Then came the moment that changed everything. 1980, America's Toughest Bouncer competition. Before the final boxing match, he stared into the camera and said the words that would define a decade. I just pity the guy who has to fight me. 54 seconds later, his opponent was unconscious on the canvas, and watching at home, nursing ideas for his next film, was Sylvester Stallone. Stallone was building Rocky III and needed an opponent who could make audiences believe Rocky Balboa might actually lose. When he saw Mr. T demolish that bouncer on television, saw that intensity burning through the screen, he knew he'd found his villain. What started as a minor role exploded into something much bigger. Mr. T's raw presence, that authentic street toughness, forced Stallone to expand the character of Clubber Lang. The film dropped in 1982 and absolutely crushed the box office. Overnight, a Chicago bouncer became a rising action star. I pity the fool echoed across playgrounds, offices, everywhere. He'd gone from protecting celebrities to becoming one. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared anyone for what came next. The A-Team hit television in 1983 and Mr. T became more than famous. He became inevitable. As B.A., Baracus, the tough mohawked mechanic who could fix anything but couldn't handle flying, he captured something special. The character mixed muscle with vulnerability, rage with humor, toughness with heart. Kids wanted to be him, adults respected him. He was earning $80,000 per week, over $5 million annually, when most Americans were making $30,000 a year. The money was obscene, the fame suffocating in the best possible way. His face appeared everywhere. Movie posters, magazines, lunchboxes, action figures. He had his own animated series where he led young gymnasts fighting crime. Parents fed their children Mr. T cereal for breakfast. He released a rap album teaching kids to respect their parents and avoid drugs. He made a life skills video that an entire generation watched in schools. He even stood in the White House beside First Lady Nancy Reagan, a street kid from Chicago's worst neighborhoods now photographed with American royalty. The transformation seemed complete, permanent, unstoppable. But in Hollywood, nothing stays permanent. The A-Team ended in 1987 after 5 seasons, and the slowdown started immediately. He tried another series, TNT, playing a reformed ex-convict solving crimes. It lasted 3 seasons but never captured that lightning-in-a-bottle magic. Meanwhile, the action genre was evolving. Schwarzenegger's Terminator and Stallone's Rambo represented a new breed of hero. More complex, more vulnerable beneath the muscles. The one-dimensional tough guy was becoming outdated, and Mr. T's image was locked in stone. Every role offered was either a parody of himself or another street thug. Hollywood had put him in a box and welded it shut. His physical dominance was fading too. Years of intensity, of being on every single moment, had taken their toll. By the late 80s, he was doing wrestling exhibitions, but couldn't maintain that fearsome presence. Then came the scandal that hurt his righteous image. In 1987, he cut down over 100 oak trees on his Lake Forest estate just to get a better view. The media called it the Chainsaw Massacre. The hero who preached respect and responsibility had damaged a community's natural beauty for personal vanity. The tarnish spread. By the early 90s, Mr. T had nearly vanished. Small guest roles, commercials, minor appearances at events nobody cared about. The spotlight that once followed him everywhere had moved on to fresher faces, newer voices. People assumed he'd simply faded like most stars do, relevant for a moment, then forgotten. They had no idea what was really coming, because in 1995, at just 43 years old, Mr. T received news that made every fight he'd ever won meaningless. The diagnosis: cutaneous T-cell lymphoma, cancer. And in a cosmic joke so cruel it seemed personal, the disease carried his name. He later said, "Can you believe it? Cancer with my name, like it was born just to take me down." The battle that followed makes every action scene he ever filmed look like child's play. Chemotherapy ravaged his body with a brutality no opponent in the ring ever matched. He vomited so constantly that he kept buckets throughout his home. When buckets weren't enough, he used towels. His body, once a symbol of invincible strength, betrayed him cell by cell. Less than a year later, the cancer roared back even more aggressively. Tumors erupted across his skin like popcorn in a microwave. His own words describing the horror of watching his body turn against itself. For 6 years, from 1995 to 2001, Lawrence Turode fought just to stay alive. His career naturally collapsed. From $5 million a year to scraping together $15,000 for local appearances. From sold-out arenas to small venues where people came more out of nostalgia than genuine excitement. He'd become a ghost of himself, and the world watched from a distance, uncomfortable with seeing their hero so weakened. The emotional devastation cut deeper than any physical pain. He'd built his entire identity on strength, on never backing down, on making others respect his power. Now he couldn't even stand confidently in front of a crowd. He questioned everything, asked God why this was happening, why everything he'd built was being ripped away. The man who pitied fools now had to pity himself. But something unexpected happened in that darkness. His faith, which had always existed in the background, moved to the center of everything. Raised Christian, baptized at 4, reborn at 27, he'd always believed. But surviving cancer transformed belief into absolute conviction. He started seeing his illness not as punishment, but as a test, like Job in the Bible. God was asking him to prove his faith meant more than his fame, his strength, his gold chains. And when he finally beat the cancer in 2001, emerging cancer-free at 49, he emerged as someone completely different. The world expected a comeback. They wanted the old Mr. T loud and brash, reclaiming his throne. Instead, they got silence. He didn't chase roles, didn't fight for the spotlight. He'd learned something in those 6 years of suffering that Hollywood couldn't teach. Fame fades, health disappears, but faith remains. Everything else was just noise. Then Hurricane Katrina hit in 2005, and Mr. T made a decision that shocked everyone who knew him. He'd worn gold chains for decades, sometimes dozens of pounds worth, valued at $300,000. They were his trademark, his identity, the visual signature that made him recognizable from 100 yards away. He took them all off, every single one, and he publicly declared he'd never wear them again. His reasoning was simple and devastating. When people lose everything, I can't keep draping myself in glittering things. It would be an insult to God and to those suffering. The gold that defined him for 25 years disappeared because his priorities had fundamentally shifted. This wasn't just about jewelry. His faith now controlled every decision. In 2010, Hollywood remade the A-Team with a massive budget and star-studded cast. The studio offered him an honorable cameo role, a chance to pass the torch and collect an easy paycheck. He refused flat out. The new version was too violent, too sexual, too far removed from the family-friendly entertainment of the original. Back then, nobody died. It was all for families to watch together. Now they've turned it into blood and lust. I won't be part of that. Turning down that role meant turning down relevance, but he didn't hesitate. For the same reason, countless Hollywood offers got rejected: violent villain roles, meaningless commercials, reality shows that would have exploited his name. He said no to everything that contradicted his values. Instead, he chose projects with purpose. A reality show where he helped struggling families. An appearance on Dancing with the Stars where he performed a waltz to Amazing Grace, dedicating it to God and donating his earnings to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Every choice now had to mean something beyond money or attention, but faith wasn't the only reason Hollywood let him slip away. Behind the scenes, professional battles had been destroying his career long before cancer arrived. During the A-Team's run, tension simmered between Mr. T and George Peppard, the veteran actor who played the team's leader. Peppard had paid his dues in Hollywood for decades, and suddenly this newcomer bouncer was stealing all the attention, becoming the fan favorite, dominating the merchandising. The resentment created an atmosphere on set that was professional on camera, but ice cold behind it. They never openly fought, but the distance between them was obvious to everyone involved. The wrestling world treated him even worse. When he appeared at WrestleMania in 1985 and 1986, teaming with Hulk Hogan and facing Roddy Piper, the professional wrestling community revolted. They saw him as an outsider, an actor playing in their world without earning his place through years of blood and broken bones. Roddy Piper openly said, "The whole wrestling world doesn't like him. He's just an actor." The exhibition matches carried real tension. One wrong move could have turned scripted entertainment into a legitimate brawl. He was never accepted, and his wrestling career ended quickly and bitterly. Worse than any personal conflict was the typecasting trap. His massive success as Clubber Lang and B.A. Baracus had locked him into a single image. Producers couldn't see past the mohawk and muscles. Every offer was either the exact same tough guy role or a self-parody. He once admitted, people didn't want to see Mr. T in another role. They just wanted Mr. T to play Mr. T again. For an artist wanting to show range to prove he could do more, that was suffocating. But refusing roles meant losing work, while accepting them only made the box smaller. TNT, his attempt to break free after the A-Team, failed to make an impact. Limited broadcast, small budget, minimal promotion. It never stood a chance. After 3 seasons, it ended, and Mr. T stopped getting major offers entirely. The Chainsaw Massacre scandal in 1987 didn't help, damaging his carefully constructed image as a righteous role model. Every conflict, every limitation, every controversy added weight until Hollywood simply stopped calling. By the time cancer struck in 1995, his career was already on life support. The disease didn't kill his career, it just made the death official. Through all of this, one choice remained consistent: protecting his private life. Mr. T never turned his family into publicity. He had 3 children, including daughter Erica Clark, who became a comedian, but he kept them far from cameras and press coverage. Colleagues remembered how seriously he took fatherhood, how he refused to be an absent parent despite fame's demands. After surviving cancer, he devoted even more time to his children, to being present in ways his own father never was. In a rare interview, he said something that explained everything. "Fame will fade, money will run out, but my children need a father, and I don't want to miss that." That simple statement revealed why he never fought harder for the spotlight. He'd found something more important. Today, at 73 years old, Lawrence Tarrio lives quietly between Chicago and Albuquerque, far from Hollywood's chaos. He connects with fans through social media, but not with selfies and celebrity gossip. Instead, he shares Bible verses, prayers, encouragement. He sees himself as a modern preacher, using the internet to spread faith rather than promote himself. When floods devastate communities, he's there, carrying sandbags. When poor children in Chicago need shoes, he brings them personally. The gold chains are gone, the shouting has stopped, but something deeper remains. In 2014, WWE inducted him into the Hall of Fame, and he spent most of his acceptance speech praising his mother and all mothers everywhere. He talked so long about her sacrifices, about how she raised 12 children alone after her husband abandoned them, that organizers had to cut him off. The audience didn't mind. They were seeing the real man behind the persona. And that vulnerability meant more than any tough guy act. His cultural impact refuses to die. B.A. Baracus still appears in parodies and references across television and film. Toy figures and posters sell to the generations who grew up with him. Even young people who never witnessed his peak know him through internet memes and clips. I Pity the Fool has become eternal, repeated in context Mr. T never imagined. His mohawk remains one of the most recognizable hairstyles in history. The gold chains he abandoned in 2005 are still what people picture when they hear his name. But his real legacy isn't in movies or merchandise. It's in the choice he made to walk away when walking away meant everything. He could have clung to fame, taken any role offered, appeared on any reality show, done anything to stay relevant. Instead, he chose principles over paychecks, faith over fame, family over spotlights. That decision to value something beyond Hollywood's approval makes him more of a hero than any character he ever played. The man who once demanded respect through strength learned to earn it through humility. The warrior who collected gold chains as trophies learned that real treasure can't be worn around your neck. The action star who dominated the 1980s learned that disappearing from screens doesn't mean disappearing from impact. Mr. T didn't vanish because Hollywood forgot him. He vanished because he found something worth more than being remembered. And maybe that's the most shocking truth of all, that a man who built his entire identity on never backing down found his greatest strength in walking away. The streets of Chicago built him, cancer tested him, faith transformed him, and in the end, his absence speaks louder than his fame ever did. At 73, he doesn't need the spotlight anymore. The life he's living, quiet and purposeful, is light enough. Mr. T's story proves that real strength isn't about never falling, it's about what you do after life knocks you down. If this journey from the streets of Chicago to Hollywood and back to something deeper moved you, hit that like button. And subscribe to the channel, because we're diving into more untold stories of legends who disappeared from the spotlight, revealing the shocking truths behind their vanishing acts. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Trust me, the next story will leave you speechless. Drop a comment below telling us which disappeared star you want us to investigate next. The truth is always more surprising than the rumors, and we're just getting started uncovering it.